Let's talk about what just rocked the Korean Peninsula. North Korea's powerful and often outspoken figure, Kim Yo Jong, yes, the sister of Kim Jong Un, has slammed the door on any talks with South Korea's new government. Just when President Lee Jae-myung thought he could thaw relations, Pyongyang fired back with a flat-out rejection. What's going on here? Why did North Korea reject what many thought were sincere peace efforts? Is there something bigger happening behind the scenes? Maybe involving Russia or the U.S.? Buckle up, because in today's breakdown, we'll unpack North Korea's dramatic response, the political signals behind it, and what it means for regional security. In a state-run statement that made international headlines, Kim Yo Jong declared that North Korea has no interest in restarting talks with South Korea, no matter what proposals come from Seoul. Her comments came just weeks after South Korea's newly elected liberal president, Lee Jae-myung, halted anti-Pyongyang loudspeaker broadcasts and repatriated North Koreans who had accidentally drifted south by sea. These were seen as goodwill gestures by the South, intended to reset a tense and frozen relationship. But clearly, North Korea isn't buying it, or isn't ready to, at least. So what exactly did Kim Yo Jong say? She labeled South Korea's outreach as a reversible turning back of what they should not have done in the first place. In short, Pyongyang isn't convinced. Even more, she describes Seoul's actions as part of a daydream, criticizing President Lee's administration for what she calls blind trust in the U.S. alliance. That's a sharp jab, not only at South Korea, but indirectly at Washington. The North's message is clear. Don't expect change just because a new president walked into the Blue House. Kim Yo Jong also pushed back hard against recent comments made by South Korea's unification minister, Chung Dong-young, who suggested inviting Kim Jong Un to an international summit later this year. That idea, meant to encourage dialogue, was instead interpreted by Pyongyang as a miscalculated PR move. The statement made it clear that the North believes nothing has truly changed in Seoul's approach, especially if South Korea continues joint military exercises with the United States, which North Korea views as direct threats. Let's talk about those military drills. These exercises are routine for the U.S. and South Korea, but they've always been a sore point for North Korea. To Pyongyang, they look less like training and more like rehearsals for invasion. Kim Yo Jong warned that even with the new South Korean leadership, these drills show that confrontation, not cooperation, is still on the table, and that's a problem if either side was hoping for a diplomatic breakthrough anytime soon. It's important to understand the backdrop. North Korea hasn't seriously engaged in talks with the U.S. or South Korea since 2019, when nuclear talks with then-President Donald Trump collapsed over sanctions and verification issues. Since then, Pyongyang has pivoted toward military expansion, declaring itself a nuclear state and openly developing weapons that could reach both regional and U.S. targets. At the same time, its diplomacy has shifted toward Moscow. Yes, Russia, and perhaps even Beijing. Speaking of Russia, North Korea and Moscow are growing closer. The North is reportedly supplying arms and conventional weapons in exchange for food, energy, and political support. With the Ukraine war dragging on, Russia needs allies, and Pyongyang is willing to help, especially if it means getting around sanctions. This growing partnership may be one of the reasons why North Korea feels less pressure to negotiate with the South or the U.S. They've found new leverage and new partners, and they're not in a rush. Inside South Korea, this rejection puts President Lee Jae-myung in a tough spot. His administration was hoping for a fresh start after years of deadlock. His party supports closer ties with the North, but with this new pushback, they now face conservative backlash at home, especially over any idea of scaling back U.S. military cooperation. It's a tightrope walk between keeping peace on the peninsula and maintaining strategic alliances. And North Korea knows exactly how to exploit that tension. Experts believe that Kim Yo Jong's statement wasn't just meant for the international audience, it was for domestic consumption, too. North Korea is facing severe economic issues and international isolation. By portraying itself as strong and independent, resisting begging for talks, Pyongyang reinforces internal unity and nationalism. It's also a reminder to its citizens that the outside world, especially South Korea and the U.S., remains hostile and untrustworthy. So, what's next? While it might look like diplomacy is dead, analysts say Pyongyang could be keeping its options open. There's speculation that a major meeting of North Korea's ruling party may happen soon, where future policy shifts could be announced. Whether that includes a Plan B for talks with Seoul or Washington remains to be seen. For now, the message is loud and clear. No talks, no meetings, and no interest unless the playing field changes dramatically. But in the game of diplomacy, never say never. Let's also not forget the broader regional dynamics at play here. With the U.S. focused on strategic competition with China and ongoing tensions with Russia, the Korean Peninsula often becomes a high-stakes flashpoint. North Korea seems well aware of this and is using the geopolitical chaos to its advantage. By aligning more closely with Moscow, Pyongyang is sending a signal. It has powerful friends too. This alliance not only offers economic and military benefits, but also adds weight to North Korea's defiance against Washington and Seoul. In a way, North Korea is leveraging global divisions to secure its own survival, and possibly to increase its bargaining power for future talks on its own terms. Meanwhile, in Washington, policymakers are watching closely but responding cautiously. The Biden administration has largely maintained a strategic patience approach, leaving the door open for talks but not actively pursuing new negotiations. Officials have stressed that diplomacy remains an option, but only if North Korea comes to the table in good faith. With Pyongyang digging in and Seoul's latest efforts being brushed aside, it's clear that no one wants to make the first real move. The U.S. is unlikely to ease sanctions or scale down military support without major concessions, and North Korea has shown no signs it's willing to offer any. This deadlock could last unless outside pressure or internal instability changes the game. In conclusion, North Korea's rejection of dialogue isn't just a political statement. It's part of a bigger strategic play. Pyongyang is betting that it doesn't need Seoul's approval or even Washington's cooperation right now. By doubling down on nuclear development, strengthening ties with Russia, and controlling the narrative at home, North Korea is creating its own path. For South Korea, this means a reset won't come easy. And for the U.S., it's a reminder that diplomacy with North Korea is always complicated, often unpredictable, and rarely straightforward. Whether this standoff softens or hardens in the months ahead will depend not just on Seoul or Pyongyang, but on how global power dynamics continue to evolve.